men down, bullies, blow the men down.
To me way, blow the men down.
Blow the men down, bullies.
I'm Paul Bennett at Shoestring Shipyard here in Millbridge, Maine. We're located along Maine's Bold Coast, not very far from the U.S.-Canadian border. The following episode is about my continuing saga with the mast and boom refurbishment. As you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt. All this video was recorded probably a little bit better than a couple of months ago when things were a little bit warmer out here. This video somehow got lost in the shuffle. A lot of things going on around here and changing computers over and so forth, and I just came across it. Thought I should put it up. I haven't progressed any further than what you're going to see here at this point. I still have to go get some new materials. This is just part of the process. You'll see what happened. This is part of the series of refurbishing the mast I salvaged from my donor boat, which was an Olympic Dolphin 23 that I had purchased last year. If you saw the earlier videos, I had stripped all the hardware off the mast in the boom. I cleaned up the mast and it's all repainted. In the boom, of course. And then going through the components, the masthead, of course, is one of the things I took off. And in an earlier video, you may have seen this come out of my bead blast cabinet. It was all corroded. It's corroded aluminum casting. Put it in the cabinet, bead blasted down to bare metal. Put a couple of different coats of primer on it. First of all, a self-etching primer, and then a different type of primer on top of that, and then a coat of white marine grade paint. But when I took apart this masthead, I took the sheaves out of it, one set for the main halyard and the other set for the jib halyard. This is what was in it. There's a little separation piece of metal. And for bushings, it just had these little aluminum, maybe they're steel, very thin sheet metal little tubes here. What I had for sheaves were these little nylon sheaves. And of course, 1975, so some of them, they're kind of chipped. At least one of them has a big chip in it. And it's, it's old material. This goes back to 1975. So I bought, and I'll show a close-up in a moment, I bought these new sheaves online. They're the same diameter. Rather than nylon, these are Delrin with Delrin bearings. It spins real easy. And then I bought new hardware. I bought some 3/16 stainless steel bolts and nylock nuts. So I can reassemble it now. So I've got these new sheaves. And this separates the two lines. I'm not sure it's really necessary, but I'll put it back in. It's going to be interesting without the bushing. Trying to get this into position. Put one on the other. And I'll get a bolt. Oh, interesting. These are slightly thicker than these. Joke's on me, that's not going to work. So a problem I ran into, and I wasn't thinking about this earlier, is that these bearings, although they're the same diameter and they're the same width for a 3/8 inch line, because they have the Delrin bearings, the little hubs, that hold in those bearings make the sheave a little bit wider than the old nylon ones. So when you put these two together, and I put this little separator there, it measures, I checked with my calipers, I've got about 1 5/16 of an inch from this point to that point. The problem here is that I only have 1 inch. I need another 5/16. However, this is not a very sophisticated piece here. The top part, all that is, it's just a piece of aluminum rectangular tubing. So if I can find a piece of rectangular tubing in aluminum similar to this, same wall thickness, about 1/8 inch, it's just a little bit wider, with a minimum of 1 5/16 inside width, and it's okay if it's a little wider than that because I can always put washers in there. That'll be fine. The only problem now is that I'm just going to have to, because they welded the nuts to the bolts, I have to eat away where that weld is. I have to grind it out so I can get the nuts off, and I can separate this piece off of the casting. So I'm going to have to go to Bangor Steel Services. It's about 70 miles away. That's the closest metal supplier for me. And they carry stainless steel, they carry aluminum, regular mild steel, they carry a number of different metals. And I'm going to have to see if I can find a piece. I'm sure that I know they have rectangular aluminum tubing. If I can find one that's a proper width, I can duplicate this exactly, same size, just wider. So it's not really that big a deal, it's just a little bit more work. And I'm willing to do that because I really want to use these new sheaves with the Delrin bearings. They spin so freely, they're not going to rust or seize up or anything. They don't need any special lubrication or anything like that. And with the brand new stainless steel bolts and nuts that I bought, this masthead is going to work out quite well. And I'm going to give it some more thought before I go any further and before I get the material, because there are a few things I want to add to this masthead. So I'm going to have to think about that, because I do want to put my my little wind direction thing there. I want to put that on. I have my VHF marine radio antenna that has to go up here, and a couple other little things. And I have to figure out how I'm going to mount them. There's plenty of places I can mount them. So again, it just takes a little bit of thought. And I wish I thought of this earlier. I wasn't even thinking about the width of these sheaves. The width of the sheave itself is the same width as the old nylon ones. What makes it wider, again, are these little hubs that help contain the bearings, the Delrin bearings. Oh well. Live and learn. Thanks for watching. That's all I have on the mast and boom refurbishment up to now. And there'll be more later. In the video description below, I've included the links to part 1, 2, and 3, if you'd like to follow that along. This is part 4, and as soon as I can get a hold of the materials and the weather warms up or I can find a warmer place to work, then I'll move forward on this and there'll be another one. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and all that good stuff, and share the video, and thank you very much for watching.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor?